So today we will be discussing the Module 5, which is entitled the Employee Selection, Reference and Testing Part 1. So from the last module, we discussed about the interviews and resume. For dito sa module na to, we have other methods to screen and select employees, which is yung reference and letters of recommendation. So first, predicting performance using references and letters of recommendation. Sabi dito sa unang bullet, verifying previous employment is not difficult, but it can be difficult to verify the quality of previous performance. So, ang sinasabi dito, madali na ma-verify yung naging previous work nila, pero hindi madali ma-verify yung quality ng kanilang performance doon sa work na meron sila. Kasi hindi naman natin agad malalaman na nagampanan ba nila ng ayos yung role nila or hindi. So, meron din tayong tinatawag na reference check, which is yung process of confirming the accuracy of information provided by an applicant. So, dito, ito yung process ng pag-contact sa previous employees, colleagues ng isang applicant para ma-verify yung skills, yung work history nila, and then yung kanilang characteristics sa work setting. Next naman is yung reference, which is the expression of an opinion either orally or through a written checklist regarding an applicant's ability, previous performance, work habits, character, or potential for future success. So dito, ang purpose ng reference is para ma-verify yung information na binigay ng isang applicant. So dito din na-assess yung work ethic and performance ng applicant doon sa kanyang previous work. And then, doon din na-identify yung potential concerns or red flags ng isang applicant. So, dito kasi sa reference, ang pwede mong ilagay is yung, for example, supervisor mo from your previous work, your colleagues, advisors, ganun. So, next naman is yung letter of recommendation, which is a letter expressing an opinion regarding an applicant's ability, previous performance, work habits, character, or potential for future success. So, dito, ito yung written endorsement about sa skills or qualifications ng isang individual. So, ang possible na magsulat nito is yung supervisor mo or colleagues or pwede ding professors. So, dito, ang nakapaloob is yung description ng isang applicant, yung skills, yung achievements niya, and possible yung performance niya sa previous work niya. So, what is included in a letter of recommendation? So, first, merong date, and then next is the recipient's name, title, and address. Next is the greetings, which is yung salutations, like dear Miss or Mr. Next naman is yung personal introduction, which begins the body of your letter by introducing kung sino ka or yung sino yung nagsusulat ng letter of recommendation na yon, and yung relationship mo doon sa applicant. Next is yung mismong recommendation wherein you can answer the question na what makes this applicant a good fit. So, pwede kang magbigay ng specific examples ng skills or qualifications na relevant doon sa role na ina-applyan niya. Next naman is yung anecdote or example, which you can give a personal narrative about paano ba siya magtrabaho dito sa work setting na to. And then you can include any workplace or people skills na na-observe mo na meron siya. And then next naman is yung closing, which gives you an overview kung bakit mo nire-recommend yung applicant na to. And then next naman is yung contact information nung kung sino yung nagsulat ng letter of recommendation na yon, and then yung signature niya.
So, for employee selection, there's a reason of using references and recommendation. So, commonly yung references is yung mga nilalagay natin sa ating resume and character references. So, sila yung magko-confirm kung about your qualifications, skills, abilities, work history, also your character of personality, and problem solving and adaptability. So, when we say recommendations naman, it can be your strength and weaknesses or potential of suitability on the job position na ina-applyan mo. And pwede magsulat doon is your former employee, professor, mentors, also the clients na meron ka dati. Either kung galing ka sa virtual assistant. Yan. Then, first one, in reason of using references and recommendation, is confirming details on a resume. So, yun na nga. So, in resume, may character references doon. So, yung mga tao na sinulat mo doon, tatawagan ni HR, then tatanungin nila about sa'yo, kung ano kang tao, paano ka ba magtrabaho. Then, but in resume, you should say the truth na bawal ka magsinungaling about your resume details, either your education, kung ano natapos mo, yan, kasi it can cause a resume fraud. Then next one is the checking of discipline problems. Then commonly in check and discipline problems is yun yung mga taong na nagkaroon sila ng incident report sa dati nilang company, either for attendance or sexual harassment, and the worst is violence. So, check nila yung history mo sa mga dati mong pinagtrabahuan. Kasi, minsan, nagkakaroon tayo ng negligent hiring dahil lang sa nangyari sa'yo. Commonly ng mga nagkakaroon ng negligent hiring is yung mga may mga previous criminal record. Kaya tayo, ina-allow na magkaroon tayo ng police clearance or NBI para malaman nila kung may kaso ba tayo. Kasi hindi naman sila mag-hire ng tao na mayroon palang kaso, tapos magdadamay lang din yung company at masisiraan po yung company nila. So, yun lang naman yung about sa confirming details on a resume, also checking for discipline problems.
So, one of the reasons for using reference and recommendation is number 3, discovering new information about the applicant. For example, sabi sa module, yung mga employers daw ay gumagamit ng variety of methods para to understand the personality and skills of the job applicants. Dito naman pumapasok yung parang pinipake ng applicant yung nandun sa kanyang resume. For example, kaya natin ginagamit yung reference and recommendation is for us to know kung itong applicant ba na to is totoo ba yung sinasabi niya sa kanyang portfolio or resume. And the number 3, predicting future performance. So, balik tayo doon sa number 3 na discovering new information about the applicant. So, kapag after tawagan ng employer, yung nasa reference niya sa resume, tapos after kausapin ng employer yung reference na nandun, malalaman niya kung totoo ba or honest ka ba doon sa resume mo. And then doon sa predicting future naman, future performance, if yung dating employer, dating pinapasukan ng applicant na to, kapag tinanong nila yung dating pinapasukan and then sinabi nila na kaya yan umalis dito sa company namin is because tamad siya, lagi siyang absent, ganyan. Doon na papasok yung predictive future performance. Pwedeng malaman ng applicant or ng employer, ng employer na ito pala ang tao na to, pala absent. So, magkakaroon sila ng clue or magkakaroon sila ng idea if kukunin ba nila or i-hire ba nila si applicant or hindi.
So after discussing the reasons for using reference and recommendation, we're going to discuss the 4 main problems with references and letters of recommendation. Number 1 is leniency. While sometimes a positive trait can create problems in situations where fairness and objectivity are crucial, For example, dito sa leniency is yung bias or yung favoritism. When someone is lenient, they might be more likely to favor people they know or they like, even if those individuals aren't not qualified, aren't most qualified for that. Nagiging lead siya ng unfair hiring decisions or yung other opportunities. Next naman is yung knowledge of applicant. While we often focus on leniency as a potential issue, the lack of comprehensive knowledge about an applicant can be just as problematic. For example, sa resume and interview, naka-provide lang yung limited na snapshot ng individual, yung experiences, skills, tsaka yung work ethics. Pero, they don't offer insights on how they handle pressures, ganun, collaborate as a team, parang ganun. Another example is, imagine you're a software developer. Tapos yung candidate, as a candidate, meron kang resume na ang ganda ng background mo, ng work ethics mo doon, ng skills mo, ng experiences mo, to the point na nagbigay ka pa ng mga some impression doon sa project mo. Continue tayo. Doon sa knowledge of applicant, yun nga, nagbigay siya ng magandang resume niya, tapos pinakita niya yung magandang project niya, tapos syempre sa una during the na-impress ka na agad during the interview, no, matitempt ka na hire mo siya based on initial impression. However, you haven't had a chance to fully understand their work style or how they interact with others on a team. So yun nga yung sinasabi ko kanina. Next naman natin is, yung low reliability. Based on the module, the third problem with references and letters of recommendation involves the lack of agreement between two people who provide references for the same person. So ito na nga, parang yung nagiging, parang from the word dito sa module na to, highlight the lack of agreement between two person who provide references for the same person. So, yun nga, nagkakaroon kayo ng lack of agreement. For example, yung reference number 1 is tinawagan natin. Ang sinabi niya, puro positive, ganyan. Okay siya dito sa company namin. Goods siya, goods. Pagdating kay reference number 2, puro negative naman yung sinasabi niya. Hindi siya okay dito, hindi nga siya cooperative, hindi siya active. Yung parang ganun. Yun yung nagiging, one of the main problems din sa references and letters of recommendations natin is yung ganun. Hindi siya nagiging reliable. Or, kumbaga, hindi siya, not accurate siya, kumbaga. For the last main problems with references and letters of recommendation is yung extraneous factors involved in writing and reading such letters. Research has indicated that the method used by the letter is often more important than the actual content. So, ito na nga. Yung sinasabi dito, ang example ko dito is yung, imagine you're applying for a job at a bakery. You ask your friend na nagwo-work dun sa bakery na yon. So, nag-ask ka na igawa ka ng letter of recommendation. Siyempre, yung friend mo, inclined niya yung tawag dito, yung request mo to write the recommendation letter for her. So, ang ilalagay syempre ng kaibigan mo doon, ng kakilala mo, is yung glowing letter, yung mga magaganda, mabubulaklak, ay eto, may experience to dito, eto, magaling tong mag-bake, ganyan-ganyan. Kasi gusto ka, pero wala kang gusto ka niya, kasi friend ka niya, pero wala kang experience dun sa pagbe-bake, sa tatrabahuhan mo, parang ganun. Gagawan ka niya ng glowing letter kasi gusto ka niya, pero kahit wala ka namang experience dun sa pagbe-bake, Yun. Yun yung example ng extraneous factors involved writing and reading such letters.
So, yung ethical issue naman is umiikot siya sa overall reputation ng company and the fairness of hiring process. Like, for example, is, diba, sa resume ng applicant is merong character references. So, yung nilalagay doon is, ng applicant is, it's either dati niyang prof, dati niyang ka-work, or dati niyang boss na pwedeng tawagan ng company para sabihin kung anong background ng applicant. So, minsan, yung mga tinatawagan ng company na mga nakalagay sa character references is nagsisinungaling sila sa capabilities ng applicant para lang matanggap. So, yun yung ethical issue ng fairness sa pagre-refer. And for example din is yung CEO ng company hinire yung pamangkin niya kahit na lack of trainings and yung experiences niya is not aligned sa position na binigay ng CEO. Parang yung ethical issue dun is personal relationships influence hiring decision over qualification.
Okay, next is predicting performance using applicant training and education. For the first bullet, kindly refer to your module. It says here that for many jobs, it is common that applicants must have a minimum level of education or training to be considered. So, kinakailangan meron tayong at least minimum level ng edukasyon. Hindi tayo pwedeng mag-apply ng managerial position nang wala naman tayong pinag-aralan. For the second bullet, a meta-analysis by NG and Feldman found that better educated employees had a higher performance, were more likely to engage in organizational citizenship, behavior, less likely to be absent, and less likely to engage in on-the-job substance abuse than were employees with lower levels of education. So, dito parang meron ng comparison sina Feldman na kapag mas mataas yung antas ng pinag-aralan mo, mas mataas ang edukasyon mo, ibig sabihin, mas magaling o mas mahusay yung magiging performance mo bilang isang empleyado. Unlike those employees with lower level of education. Sabi pa nga dito, di ba, mas madali daw ma-engage sa paggamit ng pinagbabawal na gamot. So, bakit kaya? Para sa kanila kasi kapag mas mataas yung antas mo o yung level ng pinag-aralan mo, alam mo na yung mga bagay na pwedeng maka-apekto nun sa'yo. Alam mo na yung mga bagay na yung mga pananaw mo, mas malawak yung pangunawa mo pagdating sa mga ganong bagay. So, kaya hindi natin pwede sabihin na grade is just a number because practically, in real life, it matters. Last bullet, meta-analysis indicate that a student's GPA can predict job performance, training performance, promotions, salary, and graduate school performance. So, kapag mas mataas yung GPA, mas madaling ma-predict na magiging maganda or matagumpay yung magiging performance nito dito sa isang organization. Plus, kapag meron kang mga trainings, o kilala din na, actually, malaking factor din yung kung saang school ka nang galing. Kasi, itatanong, kaya pag nag-apply kayo, di ba, itatanong kung saang school kayo graduate, kasi parang doon din nila binibase yung skills mo or yung talents mo bilang isang individual. It actually happens to one of my friends na hindi sila tinanggap kasi galing sila sa public university. So, ayun nga, sabi dito na kapag mas mataas yung grade mo, mas madali nilang ma-predict yung magiging success mo doon sa kanilang organisasyon o sa isang kumpanya.
Predicting performance using applicant knowledge. So, from the word itself po, to predict an applicant's performance using their knowledge. So, it uses a test which is so-called job knowledge test, and this test aims to measure the applicant's existing knowledge. So, according sa meta-analysis by Dye, Reck, and McDaniel noong 1993, it indicates na ang job knowledge test daw po ay good predictors of both training performance and on-the-job performance. So, ang job knowledge test po ay isang quiz or exam which checks how much
how much you already know about a specific job. For example, yung computer programming, kung gaano ka taas pa yung knowledge mo doon o yung existing knowledge na naalala mo pa. And dito sa test na to, malalaman if you have the right knowledge to do the job well without a training. Alam mo yung job na yon at di mo na kailangan mag-training pa. So, commonly used siya sa mga yung test commonly used sa mga may license na boards, yung mga lawyers, yung mga psychologists. Kasi parang mas sila kasi yung may alam sa mga ganto. Yung knowledge nila, may existing knowledge sila. And yung test na yon, people already know sa job will likely to perform kaysa dun sa hindi pa alam yung specific job na yon. So, sila yung kadalasan gumagamit dun sa job knowledge test. Ayun lang.
Predicting performance using applicants' ability is used to assess the extent to which an applicant can learn or perform a job-related skills. Ito po, meron tayong cognitive ability, perceptual ability, psychomotor ability, and physical ability. In cognitive ability is here we assess abilities involves in thinking, reasoning, perception, memory, verbal, and mathematical ability. Cognitive ability includes tests and questions designed to estimate applicants' potential to use mental process on solving work-related problems to acquire work knowledge. Some professions requires higher cognitive ability such as supervisor, accountant, and secretary to achieve higher job performance rate. Physical ability help employers identify an applicant's physical limitations. Then, under po ng physical ability, we have job simulation. It mimics an actual job responsibilities or duty para matest po yung capabilities ng mga applicants. Then, we have physical agility test. It was used to evaluating their physical fitness and ability to perform job-specific tasks. Then, we have here sa physical agility test, we have dynamic strength used for continuous exert muscle force or repetition po siya ng mga task na mabibigat. Then, we have trunk strength or yung mga nagre-require po siya ng abdomen muscle for stooping or bending overs. Then, explosive strength naman po is yung may maximum requires maximum amount of force in shortest amount of time. It was used for jumping or throwing objects po. Then, static strength, not requiring repetitions po. Mga simpleng works lang. Then, we have dynamic flexibilities for stretching, bending, twisting. And extent flexibility is some degree of bending, stretching, and twisting. We have also gross body equilibrium for balance and gross body coordination for body in motion. And stamina for how long an individual can do without being tired. Then, example po ng mga jobs that requires physical ability was police officers, military personnel, laborer, plumber.
Next, we'll talk about the perceptual skills. Perceptual skills are essential visual and cognitive abilities that help individuals interpret and respond to sensory information from their environment. Halimbawa po nito ay ang mga visual perceptions, auditory perceptions, and spatial awareness, which are crucial for activities and jobs like reading, listening, and navigating spaces. It is also essential or necessary for people to identify potential dangers. Mostly po ng mga trabaho na hinahanap yung ganitong skills may deal with colors, depth, and other factors. Examples of jobs are architects, engineers, artists, pilots, photographers, and animations. Psychomotor abilities focuses on physical skills such as the development of hand and eye coordination and the use of motor skills to measure potential performances of the applicants or individuals. This aims to harmonize body movements or manage autonomous simple actions. Mga characteristics naman po nito ay ang multi-limb coordination, control precision, arm and hand steadiness, manual dexterity and finger dexterity it is the ability to grasp objects, and reaction time, response orientation, and aiming. Now, ang examples naman pong jobs na applicable ang paghahanap ng ganitong skills ay ang mga dancers, farmers, mechanic, firefighters, carpenters, actors, and physical therapists.
Physical ability tests are used to check if someone is physically capable of doing jobs that need strength and stamina, like being a police officer, firefighter, or lifeguard. Now, there are two main ways to measure physical ability. First is the job simulations. Job simulations, here applicants perform tasks that are directly related to the job, like lifting heavy objects or running. These tests are accurate because they closely match real-life job duties, but they can be expensive or unable or unsafe to conduct. Second is the physical agility test. These are tests that measure basic physical skills needed for the job. Researchers have identified 9 basic physical abilities. Okay, first is the dynamic strength. This is the strength for repeated movements like lifting weights multiple times. Next is the trunk strength. This is the strength for bending or stooping over. Next is the explosive strength. This is the power for sudden actions like jumping or throwing. Next is the static strength. This is the strength for holding or pushing without repeated movement. Next is the dynamic flexibility. This is the speed when bending, stretching, or twisting. Next is the extent flexibility. This is how far can you bend, stretch, or twist. Next is the gross body equilibrium. This is the balance when standing or moving. Next is the gross body coordination. This is the coordinated body movements while in motion. And lastly is the stamina. Stamina is the energy to keep working for a long time. These tests help employers ensure candidates can handle the physical demands of certain jobs.
Aside from predicting performance using applicant training and education, using applicant ability, and using applicant knowledge, we can predict also the performance of applicant using their skills. Under that, we have work sample. Ito yung task or activity that related to their position that they are applying. They use in recruitment process para mag-predict kung paano i-perform ng applicant yung specific role by assessing their skills, knowledge, and their abilities in a real or simulated work scenario. Example, graphic designer, they ask the applicant to perform or create a design based on whatever they want to create, just to show their abilities and skills. Next one is assessment center. It is a process or location where applicants are evaluated for employment, training, or educational purposes. Dito naman ginagawa yung mga activities, tests, and exercise to assess applicants' skills and their abilities. Ang goal ng assessment center is to evaluate applicants' potential, fit, or ability, and readiness for the position that they are applying.
We have different types of assessment centers. Number one is in-basket techniques. What is in-basket techniques? It stimulates a real-life work scenario where candidates are provided with set of tasks, emails, memos, or reports that they must prioritize, respond to, and manage with a set of time frame. What is the purpose of in-basket techniques? Its purpose is to assess decision-making, time management, prioritization, problem-solving, and organizational skills. We have examples of in-basket techniques. A candidate might given a series of urgent emails, phone message, and request that requires a quick but thoughtful response, stimulating the pressure of managerial role. We have number two, which is simulation. Simulation, it is an assessment uses realistic job simulations to replicate situation that the candidate would likely encounter in the actual job. So, candidates are placed in situations or scenarios where they must respond to problems or challenges that reflect real-world tasks. What is the purpose of simulation? The purpose of simulation is to evaluate how well candidates apply their skills and knowledge in job-related situations. So, we have example of this one. Number one is role play. A customer service simulation where candidates handle a series of customer complaints or inquiries, or a project management simulation where they oversee by a virtual team and manage source. Each assessment techniques is designed to provide insights into a candidate's capabilities beyond typical interview, giving organization a clearer understanding of how an individual might perform in real-world scenarios.
Leaderless group discussion. Sa employee selection, ginagamit ang leaderless group discussion para maipakita kung paano nagpe-perform ang mga aplikante sa isang work-related situation na walang itinakdang leader. Ito ay isang paraan para masuri ang kanilang abilidad tulad ng cooperativeness, kung paano sila nakikipagtulungan sa iba at paano sila nagko-contribute sa grupo. Pangalawa, yung leadership. Paano sila nag-i-initiate at nagpapatnubay sa mga discussion kahit walang mga official leader. Pangatlo naman, yung analytical skills. Dito, kung paano nila ina-analyze ang mga problema at nagbibigay ng mga solusyon. Ang halimbawa nito, sa task, isang grupo ay hinihiling na magbigay ng mga paraan para mapabuti ang efficiency sa opisina. Sa cooperativeness, nagbibigay ng iba't ibang strategies ang bawat isa, nakikinig sa isa't isa, at tinutulungan ang bawat isa na mapaganda yung mga idea. Sa leadership, isang tao ang mag-i-initiate at mag-aayos ng summary ng mga idea at sa mga assigned tasks. And sa analytical skills, sinusuri ng mga participants ang kasalukuyang inefficiencies, nagbibigay ng practical solutions, at isinasaalang-alang yung mga posibleng hamal at epekto ng kanilang mga minumungkahi nila. Sa ganitong paraan, natutukoy kung sino yung mga kandidato na may mga kakayahan sa pakikipagtulungan, pamumuno, at pagsusuri ng problema sa tunay na sitwasyon sa trabaho. Yun yung leaderless group discussion. Yung pangalawa naman ay yung business games. Ang business games naman, sa employee selection, ginagamit ang business game para suriin yung mga kakayahan ng mga aplikante sa isang simulated na business environment. Ito ay isang paraan upang makita kung paano sila mag-isip, magdesisyon, kung paano sila mag-iisip at magdesisyon sa isang real-world scenario. Ang halimbawa nito ay sa isang market expansion strategy. A company, halimbawa po, a company wants to expand into a new market task. A group of applicants is asked to come up with a strategy para for expanding the company's product into the new market. For the creativity, they brainstorm unique marketing campaigns and innovative product adoptions for the new market. And for the decision making, the group decides which market to target, or which market to target, what pricing strategy to use, and how to promote the products. Applicants collaborate, share ideas, and reach a consensus of the best approach. Itong mga examples na to ay nag-illustrate how business games simulate in real-world business situation and allow applicants to demonstrate their creativity, decision-making skills, and ability to work in a team, that they're effective tools in assuring candidates.